Welcome or welcome back to my channel. I finally got this one sorted out and up for those of you who follow me on Facebook. This is the sketch that I'm using from Scrap-A-Sketch. This is my creative team layout, and I'm also using these printables, which is Painted Garden. And we're gonna get started. I'm gonna do this picture of my youngest. We're at the butterfly gardens at the Calgary Zoo, and I pointed out the butterfly there. So when I was looking at the printables, this one really stood out to me for collections because of those butterflies that were the first one. And so I'm just showing you the papers that I've printed off. I've already done the cutouts, the icons and those kind of things. I've already cut them out and they're at the top of my desk there. And then I did print them at 39% and then I think it's 50%. I wasn't printing all the way to the border, but I figured that out in the meantime, so now I can. I have that We Are Memory Keepers, I think it is, circle thing, cutter thing, yeah, thing works good. And I cut out this black one as a template to help me out. As you can see right off the bat, I kind of rotated the sketch and pulled those circles a bit further out. I do want to try the sketch closer to the sketch again because I do really like the way that was. I don't know. It is what happened with this photo. So this is that circle cutter. I haven't used it too many times because maybe you could see as I was doing that, it punches holes in the paper you're cutting it out of. So I was actually hoping to use it to like do circles in the middle of a 12 by 12, but that's not gonna work with those holes that it punches in. And for a printable, it's not a big deal because I can print them off more than once. And so I get this 8-inch circle and that's fine. Another way to get a circle is if you have a dinner plate. That's how I was doing most of my circles up until this point. So, and then I'm just going to figure out where I want to cut this in half. And literally just going to cut it with my scissors. I decided to double check that I cut that one properly because there was a little bit of time in between these two. Like when I did that template place and when I'm doing these, there was a whole different video that I just cut out that beginning part because I will use what I tried to do to start with on a different layout. I tried to do these circles, like these semicircles, as circle rounded triangle pieces, but I didn't like how it was coming together, so I changed how I was doing this, and those triangle pieces are going to come out later. I did think about backing that on black, but because I used the largest circle on the Fiskars, it wasn't going to be easy to back it on black, so I'm just going to ink it with black. And this is not giving the amount of contrast that I still want on these, but it'll get there. This is my old archival stamp pad. And there. So as you can see, like I definitely rotated the sketch. I didn't actually mean to rotate the sketch this time. Sometimes I do, but it's just, I knew that there was two circle pieces centered, and because I don't have the sketch right in front of me as I do this, I take a look, I pick out some of the things that I really want to focus on, and then I go from there and let my creative process take me from there. So when I use a sketch, what I create doesn't always look exactly like the sketch, and that's okay. But that's why it's like, all right, this is the way I'm going with that. You can see I took out some hand stenciling templates. I had thought about doing some hand stitching around those circles and around the outside of my page because there is stitching on the sketch, but I didn't. And then I am going to get this one bottom circle down, and then I am going to not make you watch me put the top one down because it ends up pretty much where it's sitting right now, but I do a lot of faffing about with it. Ask me why, I don't know. Sometimes that happens, sometimes that doesn't. It is what it is. So just a bit of taping on. And I'm going to skip ahead, and this one's going to be going on and done. You see, like, it's a little bit more central than the vertical, or rotated the horizontal bit that could have been, but meh. There's pieces there that you definitely can see that came from the sketch. But so just back this on some fun foam to get it that depth. Then I was thinking about this again, but the template doesn't actually work quite the same as the circle that I have on here, so I am going to figure that out later. But I'm going to get this on. And then I'm going to use the printables that I cut out while I was sitting and watching TV. And I just put them in a little iris case if I want to keep the styles together. So this one actually has the painted garden in the iris case, but it also has This Year April in it, which I used This Year April on a page last week, and I'll use This Year April on some more stuff this month, but it's pretty cute. So I'm getting these on. So just a little bit of dimension foam, just so that this is just on cardstock, so I don't want it to crinkle and be weird when it's in the book. So that works out okay. I'm just gonna overlap and under different things. With the butterfly wings, I'm just going to cut these squares in half on this one and just put it closer to the edge of the wings so that I get some lift off the wings, so it looks like they're not flat to the page, because now they're not flat to the page. Oh, words. And I don't remember who I saw do this, but I was like, oh, that's ingenious. So I've been doing it for a long time now, but whoever did it first, they were a genius. And then get this one on the top. On the sketch, you can see it's a little bit more over the center of the photo, but my center of the photo is my kid's hat, and her hat is super cute, and I didn't want to cover it, so it just moved out to the side a little bit. I also felt like you can see that in the sketch, the photo goes more to the outside of that circle, but I just felt like she was looking off the page when I was looking at it that way. It would have worked totally well for a different orientation of a picture, or if I'd rotated it 180, so like doing it upside down, and having more of those papers on that side would have worked well too. But this is how I got it, so this is what we got. So I really like the way this turned out, don't get me wrong. It's just kind of funny when you look at a sketch and you're like, wow, did I veer a little bit more off of it than I thought I did? But meh, totally okay. I do have 2 more circles of these halves that I used that I totally could use and do pretty much this whole thing again. Almost, not quite, but looking at some other things. So these wax seals are kind of cute, and so I'm gonna stick a couple in each of the clusters. So there's the green one and the purple one. I did not add any dimension to these, but I'm wondering if like a clear hot glue on top or a glossy accents would make it look a little bit more dimensional and more like a wax seal. But maybe on a different layout I'll try that and see what it looks like. I do know the glossy accents on my inkjet works just fine to add dimension. I did that last week when I did the glossy on some hearts to add a little bit of shine and dimension, so I know it does work. I'm just going through some of the cutouts here. I thought about the frog for a split second, but we're in the butterfly gardens and there's no frogs in there because then it wouldn't be the butterfly gardens anymore. So I was like, that doesn't really make sense. So I am going to go off screen and do some stitching in a second. And so I'm thinking, yeah, maybe I do want to do that. And then I was like, oh, I have these gold leafy bits that I can add a little bit of gold here and there because I like gold. And then more of those will get on here in a minute, and then I'm looking for titles. So is there anything on that one? Nope. And then I pull out some gold ones, which I'm doing right now. And so I think these are a Jen Hadfield. I don't use these ones, but I could have. And then there's these thickers, I think. Both came from a hip kit club. So I'm just in the sketch, it's at the top. I'm just trying to figure out what I want to use for the words and where they would work the best. So I am going to nestle this So Much Happy underneath the picture. I am not going to make you watch that because they did not come off easy or well, and so I did have to use my Stampin' Up tool and get them on. There's like a little flat, it's not a blade, but it's like kind of like a flat spatula that works well to move those around. So I did do that for the last couple letters, and then adding a little bit more gold and using up the last bit of these leaf bits because why not? Yay, using stuff up. Doesn't that make you happy when you use up a whole sheet of stickers? All the little bits are gone and you're like, yay. It makes me happy. So if it doesn't make you happy, totally cool. But I have lots of stash to use, so that it definitely makes me happy. But randomness, just sneaking these in here, there, and everywhere to add a little bit of shine in different places, and then to tie in that gold title a little more. And for embellishments, that's the only thing that doesn't come from the kit. And then, as I said I was going to do, I went off screen and did some stitching. So I did around the outside of the circle, and then I roughed that up a little bit. And then I added around the outside edge, and you can see that I also wound some thread around those 3 butterflies. And that orange butterfly definitely changed orientation, but that's okay. And then this is my spray box. I decided that it needed just a little bit more. And on the background of those beautiful butterfly paper is a blue splatter paint kind of thing. So I thought the gold would work well too. So I took inspiration from the paper I was using and the gold that I already have. And so this is Fossilized Ember from Tim Holtz. And so I'm just flicking it on. I'm going to use my heat gun for a quick minute. And then here is the page close up, and there'll be some still shots to follow too. And that adds just a bit of that sparkle and ties all together. It makes me so happy. So, yay. And hopefully this exports properly this time around, because this is my third time doing this. But yep. So I like the texture that this has even with being printables. And so here's some close-ups, give you an idea of some of those areas and what it kind of looks like. That ring around that gold there, it does dry a little bit better than that. But and last couple, I think. And then there is a code here, so if you want to have these printables, you can go to Scrap-A-Sketch and put in Amanda10 for your discount code, and it gives you 10% off all printables, books, and stencils. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like if you haven't yet, or subscribe, and there's a couple other videos here if you want to watch that are here. Appreciate you watching. Thanks again.